This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
So this is the 18th, I believe, meeting of the Senior Center Building Committee. So we'll call it to order at 12:30. Let's see.
On September 12th?
September 12th, yes. We have no one from the public here that I can see. Oh, Steve, still from the public. Steve, you have any comments?
Glad to be here.
There you go. That's a good comment. Okay. Approval of the minutes. Does everyone have a copy of the minutes? If, you can take some time to go through it.
So, well, yeah. The news has changed.
Yeah, that's right, and I think, rather than just, I think, as you see things in the minutes, why don't we discuss them,
Yeah.
as you see them, because I have some things too, that things have changed.
Right, but that doesn't mean
Yeah,
that these
yeah.
aren't
Yeah, I was-
correct.
Right, no, right, so you want to approve, yeah, okay.
Approve them as
So approve them
discussed,
first, and then we'll have a
that-
discussion on anything on there, okay?
Yeah. So just one C, just put on the sentence, first sentence, put it for several months, just an S on months, that's all. But yeah, that is the thing that has changed, but it was discussed at that time, so it should be
Yes.
reported that.
Oh, okay.
That was true at the meeting. So the new meeting, today's meeting will update that.
Right, yeah.
Just a number 10. I think it was 4 to 5 acres, not limited at 4 acres. That's all I see.
When anyone is ready, so you can make a motion to approve, or,
I make a motion to approve if everybody's ready.
we have a second?
Second.
Okay. And let's do some discussions of some of the topics in there, okay? Did you want to start, Chris? or-
So,
No.
We approved the minutes.
you
Not
did,
With the
Yes.
changes.
with
With-
change.
we didn't vote.
We didn't vote to approve
We didn't
it,
vote
you
yet.
just
You
said
wanna-
one or second.
Do you want to discuss before you vote? Do you have issues to discuss? Is that what you want?
No, I don't think so. I think we
Okay.
can vote to approve the minutes.
Okay, then we
Yeah.
have a second, so we need to vote first. You need to call for a vote.
Okay, yeah, okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Okay.
Opposed? No. Okay.
Okay, next. There you go.
All right,
Is there anything on the first one? So Janet is reorg and election of officers. So Janet will be back on.
I think
Yeah.
that one will just go on the new minutes, right? Because that wasn't discussed.
Yeah, I
The
know.
reorg under
Oh,
C, you
I'm
mean?
doing the new minutes.
Oh, God,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
minutes
so
for today.
Janet will be That would have to wait until sometime in October,
She
right?
can be on, she was appointed to come back on, but it had to wait, I believe, for, I forget, 60 or 90 days. So
Right.
she's available to come back on as of October 1.
Oh, as of October 1st, okay, so that impacts C then. October 1st.
Yep.
So that's, yeah. I mean, you want to just jump down to the second or third agenda item, the recruiting of an additional member there? Is
Yeah,
that where we're talking membership, so. Just take that one out of order.
Yep, okay.
So the question was local builders to approach.
where are you on the?
It's the third or fourth step. Since we already started talking membership, I was just trying to follow the
Yep.
agenda.
She's
So
on the agenda.
On the agenda, okay,
recruiting
yeah.
of additional member.
Yeah,
It's just out of, since we started talking about it.
Right.
Take it out of order and
right.
see if whatever we think about, any names of people that we could contact. there.
Yeah, with people, you know, some people came to me with, you know, ideas, sort of, you're looking for someone who was a builder, if possible, had been a builder.
I think as we move forward, that was
That was
some of the
yeah.
thinking is that that kind of, you know, background would be helpful.
Yeah,
Oh, no, I'm just sorry.
you're just raising your arm, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think somebody in, like, you know, the building field.
Somebody was
or-
saying, the
you know,
the winery, what's his name? The guy who owns the winery,
Oh,
Marion.
Ed.
Ed.
Hamill.
Ed was a builder.
Yeah.
Ed Hamill was a builder in Southampton. Of course, he's got a lot of things on his plate.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of.
And I think that's what, that's, you
Figure it out,
know,
man.
probably looking for a retired builder, or,
Yeah.
you know, who's not,
Right.
Well, I mean, the couple that are active, that, I mean, you probably know more, Geeler is obviously one, and David Garska, maybe?
So Gaylor does site,
Right.
not necessarily.
Not construction.
not the construction.
Right, but I mean, I
Paul
think,
Trueheart?
yeah, both the Trueheart brothers, you
Yeah,
know, may be interested.
Oh.
And also, I don't, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but, you know, somebody that may be more in the commercial build
Mhm.
end of it,
yeah,
that
Yeah.
would have that, you know.
Yeah,
yeah, I don't,
yeah. If anybody can think of anybody, but, I mean, it's just, you know, it's an ongoing process. I mean,
right.
we've got, you know,
So
an
it's
idea.
just, yeah, if you get an idea, and you
You know, we
want
got
to
to prove.
bring it up to
increase-
people, right, it's
Yeah,
got to go
we've
through a
improve
process,
to
but
increase the members, so.
that would be a, yeah.
That kind of skill set, I think, is what
Yeah,
was wanted when we thought about doing that, so,
Does serving on the committee exclude them from bidding on the project down the road?
probably.
I think so.
Probably would, yeah.
Do they need to be a Southampton resident?
I would double check that charge. I think we did say that we could have,
I think it's.
I think it allowed for somebody that was not a Southampton
Okay.
resident.
If they had the.
If they had the
skill
requisite
set,
skills. I
That,
think we
okay,
made
that
that
would be
Yes.
beneficial.
a little caveat in there. So I think we could, if we knew of somebody neighboring, that might be an idea. So it's just, I think it'll be an ongoing discussion probably, Dennis. I mean,
Yeah,
I didn't expect we'd have. it
no, I
tonight.
don't think anyone expected
Yeah.
that, so it was just to bring it up.
Good point. Yep.
And if you jump up a little from that, I think when I was discussing this with Janet, you know, should we request a letter from the town regarding the $100,000 donation? I don't know. I mean, you should.
I think so.
I mean, we've taken money from our funds before for other things, right? So did we always do that before?
Well, this has been a pretty
What's the
unusual
question?
situation to do this.
Should we request a letter from the town regarding the $100,000
We want to be
donation?
sure that if there's money given through the estate, through this committee, that
What
4 to
would
5
that
acres,
letter say?
that we promise to give you in
Okay,
return,
so-
4 to 5 acres on
Do
College
we
Highway.
have to, I
So
thought we
I would
were
expect that
drafting
you're-
something
Yeah.
that was going in before, into the purchase and sale, or into something.
Wouldn't be in the purchase and sale.
Maybe I can,
Yeah, go ahead, why don't you,
Yeah,
why don't
yeah.
you go back to the beginning, let Scott give the update here.
Yeah, let's go ahead, do
Scott's trying to
that.
put together some thoughts for us.
Oh, good.
What's going forward, so.
That'll probably solve a lot of the issues.
So this has been a pretty fluid situation since town meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
And 89 Clark Street. So unfortunately, it's one of those things where didn't have a lot of opportunity to plan it out over a couple of years. The purchase of the property is going to happen over the next week to week and a half. Probably, it literally got pushed back this morning to the 26th of September, so we're going to take ownership of the property on that date. I can also share with you, because it's going to be on the select board agenda for Tuesday, and this is not live or recorded, so it won't make it through, won't be on broadcast until after the select board meeting anyways, but the town's going to be receiving a generous donation of $1 million towards the purchase of Zero College Highway. But there are some restrictions on the donation. It has to be strictly for the purchase of the land. So that's going to reduce the borrowing that we're going to have to do significantly down to 1.2 million. That leads us to the next phase. Once we take ownership of Zero College Highway, there's a lot of chicken or the egg things that are going to have to happen. We have 52 acres that we're not quite sure what we're going to be doing with. We do know obviously the public safety building and the senior center are going to be located there, and that's going to leave us with a pretty significant chunk of acreage that we can use in the future. How we get to where things are going to be, we need to hire a land use planner. It's a little bit out of my expertise, so and we don't have a full-time planner, so Steve and Selkie have been kind of looking at options to move forward with hiring a firm to actually do the public outreach and the technical specs. So to figure out what the community wants, but also, and what like committees wants and boards and commissions, but also what's possible on the 52 acres, where we can put things, you know, where's the curb cut gonna be, where's the, you know, where can the fire trucks leave, where can the parking for the senior center be? So there's a lot to do with that, and we estimate it's probably going to be 30 to 50,000 for a base study, and probably about 50, you know, with additional services, anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 after that.
And so the other caveat about the 100,000 that Janet and I were talking about was, does the building committee, could part of that money be used to hire that person?
Right. So I was the idea is. The town has the money, but the problem is accessing it. You know, we have to go to town meeting.
Right.
It's passed by town meeting. Unfortunately, we don't have that $100,000 just sitting in one account that we can access. So, you know, my idea was, instead of the $100,000 donations for the purchase of the land, since we have that $1 million donation that we're going to be receiving next week, we can actually start the process of hiring a land use planner probably within the next couple of weeks, if we have that access to $100,000. And that would allow us, on the timeline, it would allow us over the next couple of weeks to finish up the process, bid it out if we need to. We're still working on that, and have a firm start the process of actually planning it out. At that same time, we can actually start looking at doing our RFP for the OPM. Actually, been already gotten some inquiries.
Oh, good.
For
For the OPM?
For the public safety?
So.
That's for the public safety?
For the public safety.
Council on Aging
Oh,
and public safety.
oh, together.
Really, well, whether we have one or two, but we need an OPM for both.
You think they're gonna go at the same time? The
Not
construction?
We're behind,
yeah.
well, money-wise, you know, they don't have the money at public safety.
No.
You guys have got some money from the estate, it could be at least a start with that.
Right.
Exactly.
So if you hire the OPM though, there would be, the construction wouldn't typically happen at the same time unless you said it might. You use the same one?
Well, the OPM is going to be a little bit limited, so going by what the chain of events could be, so once we bring on the planner, at the same time we could do the RFP process, which we'll definitely need for an OPM. We decide on what the scope is going to be. You're going to have to interview OPMs, they'll do presentations. You'll have to kind of decide, we have to do the sealed bids and all that wonderful stuff that Bradley will walk us through. But essentially at that time, once the planning phase is undergoing, we should be able to have a OPM on board probably by the wintertime, spring. And they can start working with the land use planner to figure out where the location is going to be for the senior center.
Right.
Once we have the
Do
location.
you need them for that? Sorry, I'm being kind of,
The OPM?
yeah, for the land use planning, why do they need, I'm just wondering why we're spending money for that, for the OPM for the planner.
Well, the
Do we
OPM
have to?
Yeah, so the OPM's not for the planner, but for the senior center. So it'll just be the OPM for the senior center, but they need to be able to talk to the land use planner on what the architecture is gonna be, you know, how many parking spaces, where it's gonna fit in the land,
Okay,
accessibility. So when the OPM comes on, they're gonna do the more technical aspect of it. They're gonna bring on architect to bring, to do the final designs. They're also gonna
Yeah,
do the final
okay.
estimate costs. So
All
they're
right.
gonna do all the heavy lifting for us.
Yeah.
so we
So the
think that's.
OPM becomes our advocate, basically, in front of
Right,
the
yeah, I
architect.
know it, I mean, I understand what it is, I just was confused about why we needed it.
I think we're thinking about timing issues too, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm wondering, are we gonna be
So if we're not,
ready?
if we're not ready to do anything for 5 years,
Yeah,
That-
we're trying to back it up, because some of this stuff has got to be approved by special town meeting, right? We don't want to wait until annual town meeting in May.
Right.
Yeah.
And you guys, because you've got the ability of having some funds available through the Parsons estate, you've got a head start, frankly, on the Public Safety Committee, who's going to have to wait until
I see.
special town meeting
Okay.
for certain approvals. Okay, so they don't have the
Gotcha.
money for an OPM, they don't have the money for anything. So by
Okay.
using, I think Scott's point, by using this 100,000 that was sort of undefined.
Right,
that was
right.
what the senior center building committee had voted to provide to be
Right.
available out of the estate, that would be a use that then covers a lot of bases. So it covers, first of all, it helps us speed up the process.
Right.
Of getting something started.
Right, okay,
And getting a land use planner on board that would deal with not only senior center, but public safety, and probably the housing authority and parks, and anybody else who's been talking to Stephen and has, you know, expressed an interest, other town
Right.
committees that say, hey, we want to have our say in some of this about what happens on this property, right?
Yep.
So that's all that process that could be happening now.
Right.
At the same time, it allows us simultaneously to go out and advertise and recruit an OPM, so that by the time that land use person is fairly well into the study,
Yeah.
we got somebody ready to come on board and we don't have other
Okay.
delays. That's really the thinking.
So would it be like hiring the OPM on a limited basis? Because we're, you know, if we spend the money to hire him now, things could change, like you said, if we're 5 years out on the actual build, would we hire, could you, I'm not that familiar with that, hire somebody for a specific term and not necessarily, you know, staying on board, or because costs and even codes and everything else will change if we don't have a time to start building, so we'd kind of be throwing
Yeah, I
money
think we'd
and
have to-
then doubling up on it down the road.
We'd have to develop the scope of work for the OPM, just like anything, and whether that's one OPM for both senior center and public safety, because that might save some costs, okay?
Yep.
But that does not mean that that would be a one person to be the architect for both buildings.
Okay.
I think we've discussed before that there are those architecture firms, when we get to that phase, which is a year from now, excuse me, when we get to that phase, that we found through discussions with other towns that have had senior centers
Right.
or public safety complexes built, you know, that there are certain firms that are really specialized in
Yep.
senior centers
There are.
versus all the other kind of technical details for a
Yep.
public safety complex. So whenever we get around to that architect point, that highly likely, just my own personal opinion right now would be that probably would not be the same, but we might look at an OPM that could do both facilities, right? So but that's not what Scott's proposing with this 100,000 right now, it's just to get the land use planning going on. And then we figure out what we have to do, you know, how far that
Yeah.
gets and when we need to bring on an OPM. But I don't know, just trying to get us to a stage where we're not incurring as few delays as possible with things that are under our control. I
I
guess is
think
my
the
goal.
building committee has always been, you know, we try to grease the wheel as much as we can when we can. There's no doubt about that, so,
Mhm.
yeah.
With the OPM, it's gonna have to be written so that there's gonna be a long, I guess,
Yes,
hibernation period.
Yeah.
But we want to get to the point where at least we're all set to go for the funding. So
Yeah.
you have the
Yeah.
designs, you have the cost, you have everything ready to go, you have the site, everything's ready to go, and then you just have to worry about getting the extra
right.
funding for the.
Because we had discussed other times, you know, if it's X amount of dollars per month for an OPM, we're not going to keep paying somebody, you know, over 5 years if we don't bill for 5 years. We're
Right.
just,
Exactly.
Do
so,
we have enough money for the design? I
We've
know
got
we had talked about
2.4.
Don't know.
What is the
Yeah,
design
We've got about
cost?
2.4 there.
it. I hope they can do it for less than that.
Who knows?
I would think
Yeah, I hope
so.
so.
I would think so.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
no.
I think it'll.
I mean, just to say that because that is available, that does get you, farther down the track. I mean,
Do you know what the
when we
cost of
get
the
to a
design
certain
is for
time-
the safety committee?
Huh?
For safety, public
We
safety?
talked
A
about it.
little over 1 million.
For 1 million, for it's a
Yeah,
bigger
so it's a
project.
bigger
Much
project,
bigger,
yeah.
much
Right,
more.
yeah.
So, I mean, that gives you a ballpark.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, and they, I mean, like I say, they don't have that flexibility of having any available cash unless some magical grant came through from the state, which so far has not. The earmarks have not come through from Senator Markey or Senator Warren's office that have been asked for. So, that's all gonna have to be town meeting. So whenever there is a special town meeting, that's what we were trying to do, is pick a date and just back up and see
Right.
if a timeline would fit
Mhm.
that.
Yep.
Um,
I get it now.
and the
Yep.
idea would be that, probably at that special town meeting, it would be getting money for OPM and architect, yeah?
That, yes, if everything goes well this
Right.
fall. Yep.
So, depending, so, yeah, why don't you go ahead and
Yeah,
finish
finish up your,
your schedule, your calendar.
So, yeah, so the other option is if, because we don't have the money available, we probably have to wait for a special meeting, special town meeting. So we are looking at redesigning the public safety complex due to cost. So that's gonna take a couple of months. We're looking for money for that right now, but that's not this committee's issue. So once we have that done, then at the special town meeting, we would have to, for the public safety building, we would have to get funds for the OPM and the architectural design. And then also at the same time, we would get funds for the land use plan. So that would set us back, if we don't have it right now, we have to wait till the special town meeting to get money
Yep.
to start planning.
yep.
So with the 100,000 that's available, that could get us going if the committee were willing. That would be allowing us to get going, to finalize some arrangement with the land use planning firm to get that process started. And if that didn't use up all that money, or even if it did, that's the 100,000.
Yeah, right.
And there's still the estate money that could be used if we were ready at an earlier time than public safety. That would allow for cash to be available to hire an OPM to keep on
Right.
going with this committee, right? So
Do you think we need a special motion to do that?
I think it would be good to record that we would vote to, what would be the right wording?
I would kind of maybe go with that whole paragraph that is.
Which
the
one?
bottom bullet
There you
point.
go.
That-
Perfect.
Yeah.
Which
that-
whole
you go.
paragraph?
The bottom paragraph in the bullet point.
There you go. Yep. Because then that would
Okay.
allow us to do the 2.3.
Right, and it would cover the wishes of the will.
In lieu of,
Yeah. Move a cash donation. Okay, why don't somebody read that as a motion if that's agreeable, and then,
Anyone?
And I make a motion, in lieu of a cash donation towards the purchase of land, the select board building, senior center building committee will fund the land use planning studies up to 100,000 in consideration of up to 4 or 5 acres of land at Zero College Highway reserved for the site of the new senior center.
A second?
all right?
Seconded.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay,
All right,
so that would allow.
that
us,
would allow you to
select
go
board,
ahead and do
get a
that.
letter back to confirm that. I mean, I think that's just a fair transaction to have.
Yep.
Because, 5 years from now, we all may be not in the same positions or around, right? So you don't want a
That's right.
situation where it's like, oh, well, we don't have anything that says the senior center is supposed to be here.
what's
So
the
I think
next step?
that's-
So we made that motion, and then what's the next step?
Select board will.
How do they know that?
We'll have, put on our agenda for our select board meeting?
So do you need the minutes before that?
No, I'm,
Okay.
I'm here as your rep for select
Okay,
board.
so then, all right.
So we can make a note that it was voted, and we need to do a letter. And so we might be a little late for this agenda. We can do it for the October 1st meeting at least, if not next week. That we would get a formal letter back to the committee from the select board, basically stating that paragraph.
Okay,
And that the town will provide
Mhm.
4 to 5 acres?
4 to 5 acres.
Okay.
Right, right, and it wouldn't
We'll accept the
designate
money.
where, it's just on that property.
Right.
So that location, definite location is not defined until that
Right,
land use
that's
planning
right,
exercise
right,
gets
that's
underway,
right.
right?
So we could add in like suitable acres?
Yeah, well, yeah.
It won't be on the other side of the agreement.
Well, just, you know, just,
That, could you say something that is acceptable to the committee once the land use planner says it? You know, once the land use planner defines something and we have to agree
Sure,
to
you've got to
it.
be involved in that whole process.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think, nothing's gonna be done in isolation, right? So the purpose of having a land use planner is to get all the information from all the various parties that have shown an interest in
May I speak
having a
to
spot.
that?
Yeah.
And then what's the
Mr.
next?
Chair?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I hope we understand to this point, I hope we understand that land use planning studies is meant to include public engagement. And the first round of public engagement
Yes.
is with the stakeholders,
Mhm.
like yourselves, who have invested in thinking about what the need is in the community and addressing it through the feasibility study. So you're absolutely at the front of the line. And rather than approving it at the end of the line, we need you to engage actively with the land planner and the public to debate. Is it better here? Is it better there? Next to this, not next to that? Because there are some tough
Choices.
opportunities. There's some tough
Opportunities,
opportunities.
positive word, yes.
As the land sits today, it's not very flexible for the list of uses that we put out there. One of the things that I keep coming back to is that there's an expressed interest in economic development with some amount of commercial development there. It's why it's zoned commercial village along the frontage. However, it's not very many acres, and it's awkward to put all the commercial up front. Certainly competes with the fire station for
Right.
direct access. May compete with some of your interests for prominence in town. So we really, really need the public engagement and your engagement around some of these tough choices.
Yep.
In the end, we hope to line this up for spring in time to compete in the one-stop grant. It's the most foolish name I've ever heard.
One-stop grant.
But through this new state program that's the funnel to all state grants for infrastructure, for housing, for these things, we need to be in line. If sewer is a feasibility, we need to be in line for the next stage of planning on that. We need to be able to say out of our land use planning studies that the state's investment in some roadway on the property would provide access to affordable housing and a senior center. And we may even need to look at rezoning, right?
So I think just to say that there's, lots of things to be done. I mean,
Yeah.
it's, over the next 6 months.
The deadline's not arbitrary. It's part
They
of-
are, to a certain extent, but I mean, the call for proposals for, so this one-stop grant is a state grant. It's just been it's a consolidated program where there's about 10 or 12 different formerly separate grant programs of the state that were all just isolated in their own silos. So over about 3 years ago, they combined them into this thing called One Step. So you apply
Okay.
for One Step.
One-step grant?
One Step
Stop.
I thought
program.
it was stop.
One Stop, sorry, One Stop.
Okay.
They put out a call for expressions of interest, usually in about February. And you put in your project ideas, they give you feedback on them, and then if they, depending on the feedback, you determine whether it's worth it to go ahead and really apply for the big deal. And that's usually later in the spring, that deadline is there. We've tried it, we put in a couple expressions of interest in the past. We applied once last year, but we haven't gotten anywhere yet. But it takes time, but I mean, the more that we have under our belt in terms of substantial information to back up our
Right.
request, I mean, we were just talking in theory right now. It's like,
Yes.
well, because we didn't even have the land, so I couldn't even tell in a grant agreement, a grant application where we were gonna site it. It might be here or it could be over there, but So that doesn't help when a
Well,
grant
that's right.
proposer's looking at
Yeah.
stuff. And so we're already farther ahead right now than we were last year when we tried to apply for it. So to the extent we could get a long way down the road with a land use planner, that would be, just strengthen our argument
Sure.
going forward. So I think, that's definitely a goal, along with the whole special town meeting idea. So
And that is done through the select board? You're
it's
the
done
people
through the
who...
grant committee.
The grant committee
Right.
of the select board?
Oh,
Grant, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. So you'll be in contact when you want
Right,
information
yeah, yeah.
from
Oh,
us to
absolutely.
do our
Believe me,
stuff?
Yeah, when we get to that point, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
Okay.
what's the next step? When do we give you the money? I mean, how does that work? Once we get the, you send us a letter and then we vote on transferring the money?
I think the money's already in the town account.
It is in the town account.
Yeah, I don't think you have to give us any, we've got it.
So how was it done in the past? That's what
How
it-
is,
Well, would we, because we would have to transfer it from one line item to the other, right? Because it's in the senior center account, the money now,
should be?
right?
It is.
This is what Scott could probably answer
Yeah.
that, you know.
We'll be back in a minute. We can double check that.
Those are just mechanics.
Yeah.
Those are mechanics.
The select board would vote on this 2 meetings since.
Right.
And then
The-
expenses could be authorized.
Yeah,
But the hiring process for the planner won't be quicker than that. So
Right.
it's
Right,
not.
I'm just wondering
yeah.
what our
But
next
the
step
account, I
is.
mean, the account under the senior center account, and whether it's named the senior center account, it's under the town accountant's purview. So we
But
just have the.
I
But
would
we
think-
want to know, I mean, we want to authorize anything that goes out
That's
of
what we're
there.
just saying, the 100,000.
We just
So
did
then-
that.
oh, so that-
Once
once
we receive the
that's-
letter from the select board, then at our
Right.
next meeting, we would vote to, or we've already.
I think we
voted.
already done that.
You've already voted. The
Yes.
next step would be,
Gotcha.
we get you the letter, and after that, work on that, finding the land use planner entity.
Right.
And then once that contract were to be ready to be signed, that is when that money has to be available. But that money exists already in the senior center account. What we need to double check with on Jen is how much cash is still in that line item, because we didn't have, we should have it there because we had put aside a chunk of money to buy Clark Street.
Right.
And we didn't
Like
need that, so I'm
800,000.
thinking we have the money sitting
In
right there. And
cash.
once we get ready to hire on the land use entity, then Bradley just transfers or takes the money from that account. That's what the town accountant does.
Yeah,
So
we had
that's
some
separate.
questions about how
Yeah, that
much
was
in
that
there
was
anyway.
6 on the
Yeah.
minutes. You know, Scott indicated there was what you know,
2.4.
when you look, go back to the
Yeah,
minutes.
Yeah, we'll come down to that. I
Yeah.
might have a couple pieces of information
All right, okay,
there. Okay?
thank you.
Is that clear though, in terms of that? So
Yes.
I think by voting to authorize this allows a step to go forward for then select board now to turn back and say, okay, this is what the senior center building committee would like to do. We agree, and here's the letter authorizing, or agreeing to it, confirming it, whatever we want to call it, so that both parties are protected in a sense, right? But then that allows Scott to move forward with the land use planning scope of work to finalize it and
Right.
interview entities and get somebody on board.
Yep.
So that's,
Okay,
Wonderful.
we're okay on that?
Thank you.
Yep. All right.
That's really huge.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because it would have taken us a long time
Express
to
my-
find.
Yeah.
Personal appreciation for that.
That would have taken us a while to find other money.
Well,
Yeah.
it's so important to do this the
Yeah.
right way and to include people.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of pent-up expectation.
Yeah.
When-
Oh, yeah.
When do we get started on this? As much as we know our plates are full, that's not the way Joe Voter sees it.
No,
It's like,
no.
Right.
What's going on, and do I get any say?
Yeah,
And,
Oh, yeah.
so thank you.
yeah.
Yep.
Oh, this will work. Yeah.
I think we're down to the next step for fundraising.
Yeah.
Listen,
Should we hire a consultant or a capital campaign? You know, we don't really have anyone here.
Well, it's not,
The fundraising part has to be the
it's a Friends, it's not.
Friends thing.
The Friends thing, that's what
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
the Friends of the COA that
Yep.
take care of, they're gonna.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, they're thinking about
Bye.
they're debating, they haven't met recently, but they were talking about doing a capital campaign, because they were hoping to raise $1 million or $2 million. That would be a giant ask. I mean, but then having gone through the fundraising they just did for the golf tournament,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
getting $7,000 was quite a lot of work.
A lot of work.
It was a
No,
massive
it's a
amount.
lot- it's a lot of
But I mean,
work. I know.
they pulled in more than, I think it was close to about $7,500 gross, and then profit was around probably 6,500 or something, or 6,000 thereabouts.
Yeah.
So, but it was a lot of effort just for that. So they're A couple people are saying like, I don't know how we're gonna.
Yeah, we're not gonna raise it with bake sales. No, that's not gonna happen.
No,
So-
definitely not. So that's really the Friends of the COA sort of subcommittee or whomever that's gonna be taking that on. So it's really not anything yet for this committee to deal with, I don't believe.
So the question of whether should be having a joint scheduled meeting, that's down the line, no?
Well, that's with the public safety complex, so that's, we haven't met yet, we're gonna meet maybe in the next 10 days or so.
Next week or two.
So the pictures that are up now of the public safety, those are gonna be the ones that are then redesigned.
What do you mean
It'll be a
pictures of
brand
it?
new-
There's in the lobby, or wherever
As
you
you
call
go
it.
down, as you go out the front door, there's all the big posters of the.
There's
of the senior
posters
center
of
above.
our architectural
I missed
pictures.
that.
They've been there for.
It's been there not that, it hasn't been there that long.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, it's past the end.
So
that's what we're up to now, and then now we're talking about redesigning
So,
that.
yeah,
Okay.
back up for
Yes.
the update on the public safety. You said we don't have enough money. Is that because the architect's estimate came in
The
higher
architect,
than?
so two things. The way this was approached, I'm not sure how the senior center one did theirs way back when, but with the architect for the public safety building, it was not, we have X amount of dollars, design us something that fits that amount of dollars. We chose instead to leave it more open-ended and say, we want to find out the viable needs, the real needs of, to make a real functional police and fire complex. So we went with, looking at what those needs were that we are not covering right now from the police and fire chiefs, and looking at, 25 or so years out in terms of growth
Right.
of what we might need for more fire, more apparatus, whatever. So it's planned that way. As a result, that's why the price tag is pushing somewhere in that $30 to $40 million.
But you didn't go out to bid.
No.
That's just a feasibility study.
Gotcha. Okay.
We're still in the feasibility stage, we're not done yet. We thought we were
Sorry.
getting done, but with that price tag now that's come through, we all on the committee, I think, are saying there's no way in God's earth this is
No,
going to pass town meeting.
no way.
So we are talking right now with the architect to scale back. Both chiefs are going to be looking at certain things that they think could be put off, things that are must-haves versus things that would be nice, or things that could be added on at a later
At a
date.
later date, right.
Okay, so
Yep.
out of the charts that are downstairs, I think it's fair to say the one that shows the footprint, all the
Right.
little rooms,
Yeah,
that's
that-
the one that's gonna change. I think the outside, I would not see the facade.
Yeah, the facade and the basic flat roof structure, no.
Yeah.
That's all-
That's probably
That's-
not.
That's
probably
that's
what's
probably not
gonna
gonna
be.
change. So it's that one, 5 boards down
Yeah.
there that has all the rooms kind
Yeah,
of,
right.
the biggest, footprint. So there was like, I don't know, just things. I mean, extra office space or, just stuff that they thought, that would be good, but we don't need it now. So how can we pare down the square footage? Because the square footage is the problem, right?
Yep.
It's around $1,000 per square foot. And that is at 26 or so thousand,
So, yeah.
something square.
Yep.
So trying to figure out how to pare it down, but it's not a matter of us just saying, well, get it down to 20,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Because then we may be cutting out something
Sure.
that's essential, right?
No,
So we
just
really
work.
want, the chiefs are taking the lead to say, okay, yes, we need that. No, we can do without that.
Yep.
And so that's where we are right now, and we'll be having a meeting on that shortly.
Okay.
So to see how we can at least knock it back down to a more defendable, I guess I would say, price. It's not gonna be cheap, no matter what.
No, right.
But,
No.
and we don't wanna risk, minimizing and not designing such that it is not doing the functional part that both of them have
Right.
requested. So, we don't wanna shoot ourselves in the foot either by, scrimping on budget.
Right.
So we just have to find that happy medium. So it was a good learning experience, but we've taken some extra time because of that, rather than giving them a limit, saying, here's a dollar budget, work within it,
Right.
and give us something, which might have been the shorter path to go, but I think we didn't know
Well, you don't-
what
you
might be
wouldn't have
possible.
known, right.
Yeah,
No, you wouldn't have.
so, and
Okay.
the building costs have just changed, there's more codes, building codes have changed over time, there's, everything has got to be designed with solar roof ready, EV station ready.
Yep.
We wouldn't put them in, but that's the
Right.
new requirement, so, and that may affect this committee's
Oh,
report too.
absolutely will.
Yeah, so just to say, that's where we are. So we're working on it, and hopefully we can get it down a bit more so it's easier to educate the public and get support for.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are we at a point where the staff or the board at the senior center should start to look at the schematic that's in place in terms of getting ideas about changes? Or is the architect going to come and then after they do something, then we give our input? When do we look at what's on the paper right now and say, well, we've got some other ideas, or what are our ideas to scale back or change or reorganize, right? When do we start that?
I would probably say now, up until the, getting the OPM on board, because that's what they're gonna ask you.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay.
Because so many people, there's only a few people in this committee who are even around the feasibility study. So
Yeah.
I don't know how much you looked at a feasibility
My
study.
first day was one of the open meetings after it,
Yeah.
so.
So there are drawings and stuff from
Yeah,
the
but,
feasibility
again,
study.
the
So
drawings are drawings. I
there's
mean,
drawings, right.
Until you, what is on paper right now in that study isn't necessarily what it's going to look
Oh,
like.
absolutely, right,
So
absolutely,
that's where the
right.
architect comes in.
That's
Says,
right.
Okay,
So-
we may not need this, or, we can redesign this another way. I mean, I don't know.
But that's a
I
good
don't want to
point, though,
confuse things, I guess.
Ted, to
It
just,
depends on how we have that discussion, but.
that's a thing for the building committee to look at, too.
I mean, there are some glaring things. I mean, Kate,
Yeah.
she doesn't have a corner office. I mean, we need to look at that.
Yeah. Okay, but I mean, just
You're
to say
funny.
that, that was the result of two separate town meetings.
Sure, Yeah.
So that's the way it came out. But
Yep.
that's not written in stone. It
That's
will
right.
change over
Yeah.
time, but you're.
Especially because the site is different.
the site is
And the
different.
site is different.
You know,
too.
access to the building, the front
Right.
might be in
All
a
of that.
different
So,
location,
and that's
all of
why I
that.
think with this
Yep.
land use planning exercise, and Stephen may have sent out a questionnaire for us to fill out, I don't know. But issues like visibility, both public safety and senior center are gonna wanna be visible from Route 10, right? You're not gonna wanna be hidden most likely, and then, how to work that out. But I would
Sure.
envision that to be questions from the land use planner person first, before the OPM, right?
Yeah.
So, that's where I think, I'd say we could wait a little bit until we get involved with the land use planner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's any urgency to start looking at the footprint of the senior center. I mean, yours was still halfway reasonable compared to what we're dealing with.
Right, you
The
have
fire
more,
apparatus and
right,
so
you have
forth.
different work, but it doesn't
Yeah.
hurt for us to start
Yeah,
just
I mean, it's something to think
acquainting
about,
ourselves
but,
with,
Go back and read through the study and just reacquaint yourself with it.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea, but then
Yep.
trying to figure out how we might tackle rethinking anything. But a lot of that I would expect to come out in the discussion with.
Yeah, and I
With
think a
these
lot
people.
of time was put into, like, talking with the seniors,
Right,
talking with
right.
other
Yeah,
A
senior
lot of that work
centers
has already been
and
done.
stuff.
A
So a
lot's been
lot
done.
of that,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
wasn't like we just kind
Yeah.
of said,
no,
oh,
no, it's
right, you
pretty
know.
And that's
thorough.
That's just the point. That's what's different, is that there was a meeting at the senior center and the town meeting that got input and led to that final design. Okay, here, for the public safety one, we've really relied mostly on the chiefs and the committee to say, we need X, because it's much more technical, right?
Yeah,
Right.
That
The
went
town
to
doesn't
the
know.
town doesn't
Right.
know,
Yeah,
But the
I mean,
town
the average
does know what
citizen
they're,
doesn't know
they're
that
Even
you
if
need
they
an
think they
evidence
do.
locker or
Right.
whatever,
Right.
right? So we relied much more on their expertise for the need and the design.
Yes.
That's resulted, okay? And it has gone to town meeting to explain that to them, but that's where the price sticker shock,
sure,
is already, it's known, but I mean, that's why we think
it's out there.
we need to do a better, look at trying to, see if we can't trim it so that it can be, still functional, but maybe just a little bit less pricey. So, two
Okay.
different approaches in a way.
Yeah, right,
for both
it's true.
committees, Yeah.
Anybody have any other questions? for-
I just have a quick question. So like, and just looking out at this, I talked to Ted about this, like, I know it's probably gonna be an easier thing to like move where the offices are so they're more centrally located because the functionality of the space is still gonna be roughly the same. At what point do we talk about like emergency preparedness, like, and egresses and that type of thing? Is that something that the architect will do overall? Okay. All
What do you
right.
mean emergency? I know on.
So I've
egress
done active
emergency.
shooter training for different buildings when I was at UMass. God forbid something like that happens here.
Yeah.
I look at the offices and there's no exit outside of one entry point for certain people. So I look at it logistically like
Yeah.
that to say like, all right, what's our emergency exit plan?
Yeah.
But also if there, God forbid there's an emergency, we need to get access to a space from the offices. How easily can we go out to address a situation while we're waiting for
We did
ambulance?
not talk about
We
that
did
at
not
all.
talk about
Okay.
that at all either.
Well, I mean, that's why I'm asking what
So
you're saying.
that's-
as
And
far
that is
as
a real
feasibility.
problem, I think, in the Hadley design.
Really?
Oh, yes, if there's something going on like 150 feet away, they're not gonna even hear it. They're not gonna
Okay.
know anything about it.
Okay.
I mean, I said that, because you walk in and you have, you know, the entrance, and then off to the left, there's all these offices.
Okay.
But it's like,
Like
they're almost
stuff.
not even part of this, you know what I'm saying? They're not integral to what's going on. I mean, did you do that
Yeah.
too?
I went.
Did you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
They're all in one spot, right?
Definitely, when we hire an architect, that should be in the
Yeah,
the
that's the kind of
RFP for
Okay, yeah.
their
Yeah.
qualifications that they've
Yeah,
done.
and don't forget these.
Yeah,
costs, 'cause
that's
they're valid,
really good.
absolutely.
Okay.
You know, it's just a matter of when they come on. So I think some of the discussion might start during the land use planning, but that's
Okay.
really more, you know, how big a structure and the visibility and how do we enter and exit and
Right,
Yep.
those kinds of things, probably as a start.
Yep.
But then into that next phase, definitely those will be coming up as questions that are
Okay.
necessary. Yeah.
Thank you.
okay, any other items that need to be discussed before planning our next meeting?
Had a
Go
quick
ahead.
one, just back to the funds. Are we
Yeah.
gonna be getting a quarterly report?
Yeah, I need to ask Jen for that. I asked her because I believe, so the money that was invested, we've got one long-term that might be coming up fairly soon, that would have been a years-long investment. So I'm thinking that one might come up within the next month or two. But then the short-term investment she did had already come up at 6 months' time, and it's due to be rolled over again this month. So I actually emailed her this morning asking if she had an idea of what new rates and timeframes might be for rolling it over for another 6 months, or what it would be, and what the interest rate would be. But also, I wanted to get a sense from us, and maybe more Scott, just what our cash flow needs might be over the next 6 months. And so, double checking that we have X amount in Bradley's, I have the last, the revenue report from his May, would have been fiscal '24, but it went into revenue, right?
Yeah.
Just to see what's in that line item. Because that definitely should be the money for the land use planner.
Right.
That 100,000 and a bit more. But then, you know, if there was, I forget how much was rolled over, say there was 800,000 in that.
That's
6
what I
month-
thought, the
It's kind of
short
what I
term
meant,
was the
So
800,000.
if it was 800,000 in that 6-month CD, or
Right.
whatever it is, do we want to say, well, you know, we need another 250 out of that just to have flush?
That's
you know,
right,
Just to have
right.
money
Right,
that we might use, and therefore only roll over 500 or something.
try to get the
I-
maximum,
So that's what I wanted to get a
yeah.
better sense of, and I don't know. Yeah, I think we'll have to look at that, but that would be, I guess the thought would be toward an OPM, right, Scott? Maybe-
so we're gonna get guidance from Scott on that? you think?
Yeah, I think we can take.
Can we
Okay.
can we get a statement so we can look at it? I have no idea
Yeah.
how much, like where,
Yep.
I mean, where the money is, whether it's in CDs or anything
Well, that's
like
like
that.
number 6 on the minutes. If you go back to number 6 on the minutes, that's the Scott stuff where he said how much money we have in it, and then
Right.
the way it reads to me, we have a long-term CD and a short-term
We
CD.
do.
But it,
Right.
like what you said, it'd be nice to see an actual printout.
I agree.
of
Yes.
What we're earning, where the
Absolutely.
funds are.
Yep.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yep. So we'll do that right now and ask for it. So we should have it for our next meeting. I'm sure.
That's been
But
requested,
if this
then, you
rolls
think?
over, I guess I would like to just say that, you know, it's really the treasurer's responsibility and letting Scott know, but, you know, what are the most favorable terms for the rollover, right? Whether
Right.
it's a 3-month maybe, rather than a 6-month, just because of.
Because
that's
of
where
what
the
they'll give
interest
you,
rate is.
yeah, right.
You know, we don't know exactly what's happening with interest rates going forward, can they come down, you know, we want to take advantage of the maximum interest rate we can right
That's
now,
right.
obviously. So, I think between us, we'll be talking with Jen, just to be sure that,
Okay.
this one I think is due to roll over
Who's
very
Jen?
soon. Jennifer Day, our treasurer, our town treasurer,
I knew that.
Jennifer Day.
I know.
Okay.
I just,
Yeah, so she's the
Needed
one
to
that
hear the
manages
whole
all
name,
this.
so-
Yeah,
sorry.
she's the one that manages all this,
you
so.
guys are in here all the time.
We'll just be double checking on when that date is due, and I'm thinking it's within the next 10 days, if
Oh,
not
yeah,
sooner.
okay.
So that we know what it could roll over at, the term and the interest rate, okay? And we'll let you know.
Because we would need money if you want us to overlap with the planning, the land use planner, because you're saying they're gonna be done winter, spring.
Hopefully, yeah.
So would we need some funds available
The OPM.
for the OPM in there, so that rolled over for 6 months, would that be cutting it close, or, I think we need to
Yeah,
examine.
Right.
that's why I was trying to figure out what was in our account right now and the revenue stream.
Yeah, I always thought it was 800,000, and we were pulling it like 100,000 out of that 800,000, so you'd have 700, but what you're talking about is maybe having 250 available or something, right? Not 700,000, right?
Yeah, well, I don't know how much, do you have an idea on them?
Well, it depends on, I guess you're hiring them for design and construction, that could be a long time. I don't
That's the issue.
know.
That's an issue for us.
You're not gonna hire a different person, a different company, I don't think, for,
That's, no,
Right.
I agree.
but it could be costly. It's too bad nobody in the town could do it.
I know, huh? Anybody know that? There's nobody?
You don't have to hire somebody, but, I mean, it's pretty complicated.
Mm-hmm,
I can't, I'm not,
yeah,
well, I can't anyway.
yeah, I understand, yeah. Yep.
but, yeah.
Anything else? Chris?
I think so.
Seems like there's something on your mind there, no?
They're
Do we want
convincing.
to schedule, do we want to have a meeting with the public safety complex people? Just to see what they're thinking, I mean, I don't know if it's useful or not, but we'll be meeting with them, so if there was a willingness to have a meeting and just share ideas, I don't know if they want to do that.
I think maybe it would be wise, to the next time there's a public safety meeting committee, that maybe a couple of us from here
Could just attend.
sit in and
Sure.
attend and get a sense of
Yeah.
things. Right?
Yeah, we could just make it known when the meeting is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can do
Okay.
that. I mean, it may not be until they get a reduced footprint.
Right, right.
That would be measured, that it would be productive to have a
Yeah.
joint meeting.
Right.
Okay.
All right. Scheduled next meeting? Is there anything about the next meeting that is contingent upon something happening before the next meeting? Not really, because everything will be taken care of on the land by then, and after,
Yeah, and I would just ask until we make the announcement public on Tuesday at Select Board to
yeah,
not reveal the donation.
They're gonna reveal who did it, or is it anonymous?
It'll be revealed Tuesday. No.
No.
No. Okay, no. We will let you know.
yeah, that's
I'm just
best.
being nosy,
We will get it to you.
and if we can,
Want to make sure that everything goes
Do
through.
you have your calendar out?
yeah, that's
Oh,
what I got.
good. So what is it now? It's the 12th?
Yes, I wasn't texting.
No, I was hoping that you had your calendar, and because I didn't feel like grabbing mine, so. What do you think?
Are we looking 2 weeks or longer, or what do we need?
This last one was a month.
Last one was a month, more than a month,
I
yeah.
think we wanted to meet before.
I think sort of the middle of October,
Okay.
I think, right?
Sure.
Because they're not closing till the end of September, so that makes sense.
Yep.
Beginning to mid-October, I would say.
Yeah, I'm going until the 13th, so.
So we want to say the 17th?
17th?
I'm not available, but you guys can.
You're not?
Nope.
Are you available the 24th or 10th?
24th I am, 10th I am not.
Anyone have a reason to not want to go to the 24th, since you're
Or
so...
the 10th, is that too early?
You can have the meeting
I know
without
we
me.
can, I know we can.
Nobody wants to do the notes.
Yeah, that's right, nobody wants to do this. That's right.
Is the 10th not an option, is that what?
Well, I can't be here. My social calendar is just full.
Well, what would be the agenda? What do we need to meet for? Is anything happening between now and?
Yeah, there are going to be some things happening. And maybe we're going to probably have to start talking about working with other committees. We're going to decide how much money we want to keep in fluid.
Do the 3rd, maybe?
No, I'm gone
Okay.
for a few little excursions.
Okay.
And,
Oh, do the 17th then, okay?
no,
No, I know you can't.
okay, we'll do 17th.
Could do that, somebody will take minutes.
Yep.
What time on the 17th?
12:30?
So, 17th.
And by then, we would definitely have the
What time, 10:30?
The state.
12:30.
I mean, that
Somebody-
should be out on the street, right, for the land use planner?
I can do the minutes if somebody
So
sends me their notes.
I can take better notes.
No, your notes are good.
Very good.
Okay. It's, the time is 1:25, and do we have to vote to adjourn the meeting? I don't
Just
know.
have a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, meeting's adjourned at 1:25.
125.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.